Hey, I wanted to tell you something really cool. I know that I could talk about artwork all day because I'm like an art fanatic, but this was one of those times where I asked Michael Washer, our artist in the Bible, to I would ask him which pictures needed to get done, and we would discuss them and we would mull over them. And I'll never forget. Of course, we showed you this last week about the this idea that Joseph went from the pit, right, to the prison, to the palace, and then here he's being reunited with his brothers. Which, if you ever look on the internet, there's so many pictures of Joseph being returned to his brothers. It's this great redemptive story that everybody loves. Well, I wanted to show you a picture of that. This is, believe it or not, is a picture in that Pathways Through the Bible book that I told you the Jewish Publication Society did. Look at Joseph. Remember how I talked about the fact that he looks like an Egyptian? How can you recognize Yeshua when he looks like a Gentile? And yet, in this book by the Jewish Publication Society, he looks like the pontiff, for goodness sakes. Look at how they have him looking. Isn't that wild? And those are his brothers, and they're all disgruntled and aggravated. There's like not a lot of joy, not a lot of weeping, not a lot of, he looks so pious, way above them. You can even see from the hand gestures the difference between Jewish art back in the 40s and 50s and 60s and what we're trying to portray today. So there's one picture that Michael wanted to put in, and this one is just mind-blowing to me. When I did the story on the blessing over Jacob and the blessing that, just remember this part of the story. Do you remember back when Isaac is getting ready to bless Esau, and then there's that horrible deception that Jacob does where he's ready to bless Esau, and Jacob in his young years did something stupid and lied to his father. Well, that was literally years and years and years and years and years before this week's Parsha. So think about all the years. First of all, think about the fact that Isaac was the same guy in this Bible. You'll see the same guy who was almost sacrificed by his father, by Abraham. Remember, Abraham takes him up. It's called the Akedah. It's the story. Remember this story? This is the story of Isaac. Okay, so the same guy, Isaac, all right, who gets saved by the hand of an angel, Later on, as he's getting ready to bless his son, Esau, instead of Jacob, we don't know whether his wife even told him the story. We just know that Esau despised his own birthright and sold it to Jacob. But think about the story of Jacob over the years. So Jacob, which is this guy's kid, right? Now Jacob ends up having this he deceives his father, but the guy who saw the angel, he doesn't have enough faith in God to bless Jacob instead of Esau, like God spoke to his wife, or his wife never told him. The Bible doesn't actually say, but the point is, Isaac was going to do what was traditionally done, blessing the older with the right hand and then giving the second blessing to the second child, not the first blessing to the first son. So Isaac, for whatever reason, the same guy who was miraculously saved, decides not to do that. He's going to do it the traditional way, and then he gets deceived by Jacob. Then Jacob goes on the run for years, works for Lavan, comes back with 4 women and 12 kids. And then of the 4 women and 12 kids, his own son, Joseph, the one of his beloved, gets sold into slavery by his brothers, and then he ends up becoming first after Pharaoh and ends up redeeming his brothers. That's a phenomenal story. But this is the part I want to ask for this week. Because Michael says, Danya, we have to do the picture of Ephraim and Manasseh. And I'm thinking, okay, whatever, great, Michael, whatever you think is good, we'll do. He was really adamant about it, and I didn't really get it, like, till this year. But do you realize when you read the stories like week after week, and read the stories generation after generation? Now look, Joseph, the one that was sold into slavery, that becomes, he's now, right, married and got 2 kids by an Egyptian wife. And here's Jacob. Jacob is the one who stole the blessing, and his father wouldn't cross his arms. Now he's the one crossing his hands And Joseph is saying, don't do that, Father. Manasseh's the older. He gets the right hand. And Israel, who was Jacob, who stole the blessing because his father wouldn't do it this way, is now doing the same with Joseph's own children. What is significant about that? Why is that so fascinating? I think the reason it's so fascinating to me is we don't know why he did it. Like, we don't know whether he was making up for the fact that his father didn't do that for him.